All right, so we are talking about independent versus dependent with probability. So when we were talking about compound events, some of you may have noticed that in some of the questions on that quizzes, it said that you were going to have all these different kinds of shirts or all these different kinds of marbles, and that you were going to select it and then you were going to replace it. You're going to put it back. That was discussing what's called an independent event. So we're going to discuss what's the difference between an independent and a dependent event. So this is always based off of compound probabilities. If you've got more than two events that you're looking for, more than two activities, then you're either dealing with an independent or dependent situation. Now, with independent, if you think of the word, when we say I'm independent, if I'm an independent person, do I rely on anybody? No. When I am an independent person, I do not rely on anybody but myself. No one has an effect on me. Okay? So that would be, in probability terms, that's two events that have no effect. Two events that have no effect on each other. It does not matter what the outcome of the first activity is. It has no effect on the outcome for the second activity. So a very common example of a situation that is independent is if you flip a coin and you roll a die. If I flip a coin and land on heads, that has no way of affecting how I roll my die. It does not matter whether I land on heads or tails. There is no way that it's going to change what I roll for a die. They do not relate or rely on each other at all. They're not related. They are independent of each other. Dependent. So the best way that I can describe dependent to you is to basically say you. You are dependent. Who is it that you depend on? Mylan? Huh? Your parents. You depend on your parents. And ultimately, what happens to your parents has a direct effect on you. If your parent loses their job, that directly affects you. So an outcome that happens to them will play a part on affecting you. They lose their job, there's an income loss. That means that you won't be able to buy the latest phone. Maybe you might have to cook dinners at home a lot more often because you can't eat out as much. Okay? You might not be able to update your wardrobe as often as you might want to. Maybe you might even have to move because you might have to move to another state where your parent gets another job. So what happens to your parent not only affects them, but it affects you as well. You depend on what happens to them. Okay? As you get older, that dependency changes. So for example, myself, I have a mom, I have a dad, they're still alive, but whatever happens to them doesn't have an effect on me when it comes to things like my financial status or where I'm living. Has no effect on me because I am independent of them now. Okay? So dependent. Event A, whatever happens in event A, whatever outcome you get, that will ultimately affect the outcome of event B. Whatever happens in situation A or event A, the outcome that you get for event A ultimately is going to have an effect on the outcome for event B. So think about a race. You have first and second place winners. If I'm racing 5 people and somebody already got to the finish line and gets first place, that changes the likelihood that I will get second place. So if I'm starting the race and my goal is just to get second place, I have a 1 out of 5 chance of getting second place. But once somebody passes that finish line first, that person is no longer there anymore. My chances have now gone to 1 out of 4. Ultimately, whoever gets first place changes the likelihood of me being able to get second place because they are now removed from the situation. And that is something that you need to understand. When we're looking at dependency, you're going to look for key words or key phrases like without replacement, or removed. See, today, when you guys were doing compound events, they had the situations in which they said they pulled it out and then they put it back. They placed it back into the bag or back into the closet or drawer or whatever the situation was. They put it back. They replaced it. That's independent. With dependent, there is no replacement. Once I take it out of the bag, I keep it out of the bag. That option is no longer available to be chosen. It has been removed. It's without replacement. So what I want you guys to do right now is I'm going to give you a couple of situations and you're going to tell me, is this independent or dependent? Are we looking at an independent or a dependent situation? So I'm going to put up 3 scenarios. All right, let's go over it. A bag of Skittles. Each time you pull a Skittle, you eat it. Mylan? It's dependent. It's dependent because you're eating the Skittle. So the Skittle is now being fully removed. Okay, so that is a dependent situation. Dependent. Okay. Number 2, spinning a spinner 2 times. Spinning a spinner 2 times. Sorry, I'm trying to, let's see here. Okay. Hold on. Is that Leona? Leona, go ahead. Independent. Okay, doesn't matter what I land on the first time. I can keep spinning the spinner. It has the same probability of landing on the same item over and over and over again. So that is independent. Okay, 2 book reports. You must choose a book for each report. Eileen? Dependent. Once you choose a book to read and write a report on it, you can't do that again. Okay? Once you've chosen the book and wrote a book report on it, that book is no longer available for the second report. That is dependent. Now, tomorrow we're going to talk about how to work these problems out. Okay? What I want you guys to do now is return your computers.